Oh, okay.
It looks pretty stock. Only 3 turnabouts. Usually there's 4.
Any cool wish targets in there?
Only 1 intuition. Usually there's 2 or 3. As far as wish targets go, it's I think you pretty much expect. Oh, he's Mystic Remorse on the sideboard. That's kind of
really
cool.
Interesting.
4 of it. Mystic Remorse is kind of an interesting card. It's a cumulative upkeep card.
Yep.
Right.
Cumulative upkeep.
Ice Age.
Yeah, it's
costs 1 blue.
1 blue. It's an enchantment. Cumulative upkeep, I believe, of 1 colorless. And every time your opponent plays a non-creature spell, is it? They draw a card, or you may draw a card. Yeah, it was a big tech back in the day to always play that against in the control mirror, because they essentially just couldn't do anything while you had it out, and you would still have some mana available to do stuff.
And in a deck like High Tide, it seems pretty cool because you don't really need to use your mana for anything in the turns before you combo. While your opponent is, and if your opponent's playing a deck that's a lot of spells, then you just get to draw a card every time they do something, and then the turn you actually want to combo, you've just got a fistful of perfect cards.
Yep, and I mean, like we said, just it can buy you a couple turns.
Yeah. Because a lot of people aren't going to play into it. They'll just wait till you get cumulative upkeep out.
Well, it's like the thing. What's Betrayal? The blue enchantment. Whenever a kind of creature gets tapped, you draw a card, and people would say, if their opponent put Betrayal on their creature, they just never attack with it because they just hated the thought of giving their opponent a card. It's just one of those things you just don't want to do. You don't want to give your opponent free cards. I mean, the only thing worse is generally giving them, free turns.
Yeah, actually, speaking of free turns, there are no meditates in this deck, in the main deck or sideboard. That's extremely strange to me.
Yeah, that is.
A single copy of Meditate. Meditate's pretty good, too. And he has Ponders and Preordains. It's normal. Huh. Should be cool.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think Bennett might actually be from the Minneapolis area. I think I played against him once or twice at the Den, which is the local gaming store where like Matthias Hunt, Kyle Stoll, all the big players hang out in Minneapolis.
Cool.
I believe I lost to him in a modern tournament, actually, playing for a dual land. It was a little unfortunate, but.
And what was he playing modern?
He was playing Cobblade, and I was playing Affinity. The same deck I wrote about, actually, when I took second place at the PTQ.
Magic players, our assignments will be closing at the end of this round. If you're interested in hopping in a last-minute draft or win boxes,
I'm a little confused about what's going on. Didn't he just have a hand?
Yeah. Is he trying to mulligan to 6 or something? Or is it possible they drew an extra card and had to?
Oh, maybe like his top card got revealed when he drew his opening hand or something like that. And then they were just like, just shuffle your deck.
The easy way to fix is, just shuffle the whole deck together.
Yeah.
That way the opponent doesn't know, what's still remaining in the deck, possibly.
It's pretty good to solve that issue without having it actually change anything.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is that the judges are always striving to maintain a good state that they can.
Yeah. It's still just a randomized deck. It doesn't make a difference.
Well, it's just like if you forget to decide a card, which happened to me in SCG Des Moines, where I saw the card on Brainstorm, and they just what it was is I was brainstorming in the middle of the game, but they just reshuffled my deck. It looks like we're getting started here, and Ben's starting off with a fetch. Whether he's gonna get a tropical or a volcanic, that's always a question. Looks like a volcanic. Maybe he has some burn spells in his hand.
Yeah, I mean. You never know. A lot of the time you just get the volcanic first, so that if your opponent is playing a deck that has access to Wasteland and they waste you on turn 2, like if you're going to ponder into a Nimble Mongoose, then when you grab the...
Yeah, it looks like he maybe just grabbed a tropical there off the ponder. Maybe sign up for a Nimble Mongoose next turn.
And a ponder from Mike. Pretty cool ponder art.
Yeah, is that the alternate art? The special promo?
I think it's from the Venser versus Koth, that ponder. It might be from the it's from something.
Oh, looks like we got a Delver, and yep, there's an Nimble Mongoose.
Yeah, so
It's a pretty strong open.
yeah, only 2 cards in his graveyard, but that can change really quickly when you're playing a deck with that many cantrips.
Yeah.
Somebody who's played like a Miracle Grow type deck knows.
Yeah, and you really just need to get that early pressure against High Tide, otherwise you just have all the time in the world to go off. Oh, back to the
Yeah, another
main
Ponder.
set Ponder.
Wonder if there are Lorwyn Ponders in there too. He's got every type of Ponder.
That has to go for the set. One of a kind. Brainstorm, that's a nice setup with the Ponder.
He gets to flip that Delver, and
Definitely the early pressure that you're looking for.
yeah, I mean, at this point it should be pretty obvious that your opponent's on High Tide.
Yeah.
So you really just want to apply as much pressure as possible. I might even, on Mike's end step, if I don't have a third land here, I think I just, oh, he's a Tarmogoyf, so I guess you just play Tarmogoyf, but...
Yeah, it looks like Mike has a Force of Will and Blue Sun. Is he gonna Brainstorm try and find him? Nope, guess not.
Nothing. So that was kind of a tell from Mike. I think he may have Flusterstorm in his hand.
Yeah.
Alright, now, if you're Bennett here, do you just start, Brainstorm to pump your Tarmogoyf and look for a burn spell and start doming Mike? Try to turn this into a 2-turn clock instead of a,
Well, it's hard to say.
Clock.
I mean, if he has the fetch land, you might want to definitely shuffle some stuff away. Yep,
Oh,
looks
yeah.
like that's the plan. Gets the thumbs up.
I mean, normally not worth it to just burn Brainstorms, but when we're playing against a deck like High Tide, I think the goal is just kill them as fast as possible. And that Brainstorm turns this into, a full turn faster of a clock. So,
Well, and I mean, if he has one of the Thought Scours, like,
yeah, I mean,
that
if,
plus a
if he
fetch
actually-
land.
If he hits a burn spell off the Brainstorm, it actually just means his opponent's dead in 2 turns. So,
Yep.
but this next turn that when he's going to pass back to Mike is the turn that matters.
Yep, there's the Thought Scour.
Yeah.
Nice draw there. And the question is, does he have the fetch land to follow it up to get Threshold? Of course, you could always hit a creature and get that clock even bigger. Yep, there we go.
Now this Tarmogoyf is a 4/5, and
Still one short of Threshold.
does he
though.
have Threshold?
No, he
doesn't
looks like
have
he only
fetch
has
lands?
6.
So he's 1 short, so... going to be attacking for 8, though, so yeah, it manages to put together that 2-turn clock, going to force Mike to go off this next turn through the Force of Will in Bennett's hand. And it looks like Mike's probably going to be able to do that.
Intuition.
Alright, an Intuition for Mike. Bennett says okay. And a few Time Spirals. Now, Bennett has a Force of Will, but so does Mike. Let's see if Mike's able to go off through all of this. Now, if you're Bennett, which spell do you try to force? I mean, with your opponent dead the next turn, I think you just try to force the first High Tide, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you really just need to fight the mana because, I mean, if he... And the Time Spiral is kind of a reset button, in case he fails to go off. It doesn't appear like he has a Candelabra or anything to generate an advantage if he has a second High Tide.
Yeah, I mean, if I have a Daze or I even just Daze first High Tide after he pays, I try to force it.
Yep, just cut out that mana and try and bring the game to your advantage.
And there's a High Tide.
High Tide 1.
Ooh, that's very risky, just letting that go.
Let it go.
And
So-
if you're not familiar with High Tide, you may be thinking to yourself, oh, well, I'll just counter the big spell, I'll counter the Time Spiral.
Well, and the other thing was Bennett's decision to Thought Scour that turn was actually pretty interesting because one strategy is to try and leave an island open because the High Tides affect yours too. So then he could generate at this point like 3 mana and then Spell Pierces and Spell Snares in his hand. If he draws them off, the Time Spiral would be live. Yep, looks like he's just going for that. Horseback.
Yep, and it looks like this High Tide player's going to have a chance to try to go off. Alright, so both players are going to shuffle their hands and their graveyards back in their deck.
Bennett's
Mike
just hoping to draw Force of Will off that Time Spiral so he can interact after the...
Mike has 1 mana floating before he untaps these lands. But once those lands untap, he's going to have access to 13 mana.
Yeah.
Quite a lot.
So as long as he doesn't get a dead draw here, should be a pretty good turn.
Yeah, it's extremely unlikely that the High Tide deck fizzles, but it does happen.
Well, and that's where like having Meditate would really help him here, because he has access to a ton of mana, and just being able to draw 4 cards would be ridiculous.
A Ponder, the 1 mana that he's floating. Mike now with no mana remaining in pool.
Is he only looking at the top 2?
Cunning Wish. Let's see.
What's he gonna get here?
An Intuition, probably.
Yeah, probably. Of course, could get
Turnabout,
the turnabout and
depending
generate
on-
more mana.
Well, yeah, depending on what's in his hand. His storm count currently at 6. Bennett helped that storm out a little bit with Force Fill.
Oh, looks like he's gonna Force of Will the...
Cunning Wish. That's an odd thing to Force of Will.
Yeah, usually you just try and get the target.
Yeah, I
I
mean
mean, it's not like he's gonna get a counterspell or something like that off of it. Does Mike have a Force back, or looks like?
Mike already has a Time Spiral in his hand, though, so... Oh, and he has a Force?
Well, and one thing is if he does Force here, like even if he does Time Spiral, he's removing a card they might not want later in the game.
That's true.
Looks like he's just gonna let go. Oh, well, if you have a second Cunning Wish.
Yeah, then it's really easy to just let him force it. I'm also surprised that Bennett chose to remove a Daze from the game with that Force of Will.
Yeah, that is. I mean, it's possibly just to get another blue card off of it. I've had that happen before.
Yeah, it might be his only blue card in hand. But,
Yeah, sometimes that 1 mana is going to matter, though. I mean, like here, you know, if he, if he goes for a Time Spiral.
Yeah, then Daze is live.
Rain Freeze, that should be probably just about it. Oh,
Yep.
that'll do it.
And that'll do it. Yeah, so... Storm count, I believe, at... so before that,
It was 6.
7 or 8.
Well, 6, and then there's the Force of Will, the Cunning Wish, another Cunning Wish.
Oh, it was 6
So-
before the...
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, so yeah, so...
yeah, I believe it was 6 half the time wrong. So it was High Tide, Time Spiral, Force of Will. Looks like there's maybe some confusion about what Rain Freeze does.
Yeah, so moving on to a game 2.
Well, looking at what Bennett can bring in, he only has 1 Pyroblast to bring in. That's a little lighter than most people. If he wants to, he can bring in the Termite Crypts. You know, just try and get that graveyard so the Time Spiral. It's not-
I don't know if that's very good. I think I'd
Yeah.
rather just have a draw that could actually kill my opponent.
Yeah, it's not a really good card, but it's one of those things where like maybe the Stifle's not really going to do much. He just wants to get a totally dead card out of there.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't even be too surprised if he brought in the Sulfur Elemental just to try and get a little more pressure in case he needs it.
Yeah, I actually don't hate the Stifle just because, I mean, Mike's version of High Tide is playing fetch lands.
Oh,
And,
yeah, that's definitely a good
You
consideration.
saw those fetch lands, and just keeping High Tide off of, like, land number 4 makes it really hard for them to go off. Because going off
Oh,
on
yeah.
3 lands with High Tide is tough.
Well, it's just like if you can get rid of the second High Tide. I mean, 1 High Tide, it's hard for them to go off. But if they get to cast that second one, I mean, they just
They
have
can just do
so much
anything they
mana.
want.
As we saw there, I mean, after the Time Spiral, he had access to 13 mana. I mean, let alone if he gets another High Tide, I mean, that's a ridiculous amount there.
Yeah, but yeah, second, if he had had the days in his hand for that remand, then his opponent wouldn't have been able to re-brain freeze him.
Yeah, that's true.
So
it would have been for 11, so just about, well,
yeah, I think it was for like 30 or something.
Yeah. Yeah. So he would end next.
Well, because one of the copies doesn't go off because it got remanded.
Oh, that's right.
Cards.
Yep. Yeah, the actual spell has to get remanded, whereas the copies don't.
Yeah, so, ooh. Do you think he's going to bring in anything here?
I don't know. I mean, he does have 2 Aether Spell Bombs, which is an interesting choice. Certainly doesn't know Mongoose, but I mean, it can always bounce a Delver, which takes a lot of energy to flip. Or keep the Tamagotchi off.
Yeah, I think he might just be trying to go off as hard as he can. Like, his sideboard is, 2 Aether Spell Bombs, 4 Mystic Remorse, and then targets for his Cunning Wishes.
Yeah. I mean, he could always have the Spell Bombs just to, like, handle Teague, just as an additional answer.
That's true.
I mean, his Echoing Truth is the Cunning Wish target, but, maybe he just wants to bring in something extra. And he can always draw you a card, which is never a bad thing.
You're just thinning out your deck, having one less card. Playing a 58-card deck when you're playing combo decks is usually pretty good.
Yep.
It's one of the reasons why Ponder and preordained cards like that are so strong here. And they're not only making your deck smaller, but
they're digging into all the answers that you need.
Manipulating it. Yeah, but I think that's about all the sideboarding we're going to see.
Yeah, I mean, Smirch definitely doesn't do anything. I mean, Bennett could bring in Scavenging Ooze, but that's just only going to be worse than the Crypt unless he wants the additional pressure. I know
Spell Snare is surprisingly bad against this list. It does not hit much, and it hits like the Merchant Scrolls.
Yeah, it's usually about
the
the
2
scrolls.
remands, but that's it. Looks like Mike is going to go down to 6 cards this game.
Yeah, never really what you want when you're playing the combo deck. You just want more options, more things to do.
Yeah, but I mean, High Tide's a deck that can operate pretty well on 6 cards or even 5 cards. A lot of combo decks struggle when they mulligan, but even though High Tide is pretty card intensive, the deck is so consistent, so good. And I actually have usually when I watch this deck, I'm really impressed. I think it's one of the better decks in the format. It's just, it can be difficult to play. It's time consuming.
Well, the thing is that Time Spiral really just gives it that huge reset to just, oh, okay, you file all this stuff. All right, I'll just reset, draw 7 fresh cards, and then you're just back in the game. I mean, it just gives you all that advantage back.
Now, with Bennett being on the play, he's really going to need an aggressive start. It's funny, the range of hands you can keep against High Tide with Rug Delver is much smaller than the range of hands you're normally going to keep against a lot of other decks.
Yeah, because I mean, you had to have something to interact with them, and the only thing that does that is the counter spells, obviously.
And will he have a Delver Secrets? I can grab a Tropical Island here.
Yep.
And Delver comes down.
Always a good card to have.
Mike plays an island. We're going to flip this Delver.
Definitely what you want to see.
And Delver flipping right away.
It's brutal in every format.
Yeah, really good clock. Main phase Brainstorm.
Then the Fork Bolt, being able to deal that additional 2. Delver can only deal 18 if it gets to attack 6 times.
So Bennett without a second land.
Yeah, it's going to be rough.
Getting in for 3. Mike falling down to 17 here. Actually, Bennett seemed to have had multiple ponders in his hand, yet he chose Brainstorm. That seems wrong to me.
Well, maybe he's just hoping to get a shuffle land and try and shuffle away some of the cards he doesn't like in his hand.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing is that if you do Brainstorm and you do only have bad cards, then the ponder can just shuffle them away afterwards. I mean, it's not the optimal shuffle effect.
Yeah, but I mean, you still have to draw two. You still have to draw one of the cards that you're putting back next turn. I think when you're trying to get that second land, just for reference for those watching, and you have a ponder or a Brainstorm, use the ponder first. It's just, when push comes to shove, it's better.
It's better to just dig and get what you need.
Yeah. Ponder lets you shuffle. It lets you look at the top three the same way Brainstorm does. When you're looking for something specific, Ponder is better to play. The other thing is that Brainstorm is a lot more late game value.
That is true.
Like a lot more late game value. The Ponder is not only better in that situation, but Brainstorm is better in every other situation, so you should definitely play Ponder there.
Well, yeah, I mean, if he gets the second Delver, you know, the Brainstorm can set up the flip a lot easier. And then you could sack your fetch land, shuffle it away. It just gives you so much value, so much value.
And a polluted delta. It's going to let Bennett resolve some sort of threat, I imagine.
Yeah, I see a Nimble Mongoose and swing before making decisions. There's a goose.
Mongoose comes down. And Mike with a ponder. Looking at these top cold cards. Define it looks like there's a candelabra there. Oh, that's the preordain. It's the promo preordain, not ponder. I'm sorry. We'll put a couple things back. Now he's Force of Will back up for when he tries to combo.
Yep. Well, he certainly has another turn. I mean, you really always want to try and hold off as long as you can to just maximize your value when you're trying to go off.
Yeah, one of the things I really like about High Tide is it plays similarly to, you know, the older Storm decks from Extended, where you kind of wait until the very last turn before you were dead and then combo your opponent.
Yeah.
Can I die next turn? If it's possible, then I'll try.
Yeah.
If not, I can just sit here and just be a card deeper.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly have to think about that, you know, like what's the number of burn spells you could have, how much damage can you take, but he's pretty safe here.
Once again, just 25 minutes left to get in the last side events of the weekend.
Bennett Snyder, representing lethal if he's able to add 4 cards to his graveyard. He has 1 fetch land there. Yep. And it looks like he's got a good number of instances in his hand too, so, or sorceries. So.
Oh, it's definitely in the fetch. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I mean that's pretty big here.
Yeah, it is huge. I mean, 1 less mana for Mike there. It's gonna be a lot harder for him to go off next turn.
Let's see.
Is he gonna go for another fetch land and risk another stifle?
Do not know. That'd be pretty dangerous. But
I mean, you would hope he doesn't have it. Is he passing the turn?
Yeah. So it looks like he's not going to combo.
I suppose if you don't have the High Tide, you can't really go off, can you?
It's true. It's one of the reasons why most people play more than one Intuition.
Yeah, Intuition, just a good old tutor for the deck.
And instant speed demonic tutor for 1 more mana.
Yep.
In many ways, better.
Yeah, I mean, and then with you just get to shuffle it all back with the time spiral. Looks like the Fork Bolt going for Threshold.
It drops Mike down to 4 with that Fork Bolt. And
oh, turnabout.
Turnabout's going to tap down all Bennett's creatures.
Oh, there's the days.
And I think we're off to game 3.
Oh, wait.
Oh, never mind.
Force of Will. Does Bennett have anything left? Of course, it's still going to be tough for Mike to go off next turn. But, you know, if he pulls that High Tide.
Yeah, I mean, he has Time Spiral in hand, so if he does hit a High Tide, he should have no problem going off.
Yep. See, now just look, if you want to stifle that fetch land, you would add the extra mana to pay for that daze.
Yeah.
That's certainly a good play. Well, the turnabout's resolved.
And I believe that's it, right?
I think the turnabout resolved. Tapped all of Bennett's creatures, so yep.
Oh, the turnabout did resolve.
Yeah.
Okay, that was good.
Yeah, he didn't have anything to handle the force.
And nothing really left for Mike at this point.
Nope.
And it looks like we might be moving on to game 3.
Can he... No. Yep, that's game. Still had all these Force of Wills from Bennett.
Yeah, still had an Ancient Grudge, Force, and another blue card. Pretty good. Bennett Snyder able to disrupt the High Tide player enough to take game 2. High Tide player, draw that didn't have any High Tides and did not have a Merchant Scroll or
A Cunning
Wish or an Intuition to find the High Tide that he was looking for. Do you think any sideboarding changes from the player of the draw?
I can't really think of much that you'd really want to do. Like it's kind of the same game no matter what. I mean, Daze is just always going to be good. Stifle. I mean, the good thing is that if Mike does have a fetch land, you know, he can play it and sack it before Bennett could possibly stifle it.
Now,
I mean,
about Legacy, it's pretty cool. Is that, you know, just a wide range of decks. You see Rug Delver all the time, but a deck like High Tide is something that you don't really expect because it's a combo deck, which you would expect from Legacy, but it's not a combo deck that kills you on turn 2 or 3. It's not like an Ant or a Dredge or a Hypergenesis. It's this turn 4 combo deck.
Yeah, it's a little bit
really consistent and gets to play a lot of interactive cards.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit slower, but I mean, as a reward for that, you get the consistency. You get all the one mana cantrips.
Lands. You get to play.
Well, you get Ponder, you get Preordain, you get Intuition. I mean, you can't play something like
Cunning Wish
Intuition.
package.
Yeah, you can't really Intuition much in a Storm deck because you just don't really have that backup plan.
Yeah, you can't afford to play enough lands where there'd be any chance of casting Intuition with consistency.
Yep. Of course, I mean, you're trying to be fast, so you will never really have that 3 mana to play for it. Of course, as a reward, the Storm decks get Past in Flames, which kind of is a super tutor for everything they've already had.
The Yawgmoth's Will of the format.
Whereas High Tide, you generally don't have that. You either get to go off or you don't. And open your hands.
All right.
Well, looks like Mike's a little mana light. Let's keep it.
Yeah, but well, this deck's cantrips, and that's an interesting keep actually. All right, Bennett. Go find a land, and let's see if he's got a 1-drop.
Tropical, maybe a Nimble Mongoose or
Delver of Secrets.
Delver would be the ideal start.
Yeah.
Oh, Nimble Mongoose.
Nimble Mongoose.
Not quite the clock you want, but you know, hopefully you can clock it up.
Yeah, if that thing is a 3/3 by turn 3 or 4.
Looks like Bennett has at least 1 Force Will, maybe more. Oh, the Mystic Remora. Now the long explanation of what exactly it does.
What does Mystic Remora do? Well, there are fish on it. There are whales, something like that. It's 1 blue. It's an enchantment. Cumulative upkeep, 1 colorless. Whenever your opponent casts a non-creature spell, you may, or I think it might be an instant sorcery or enchantment spell. It may actually specify, right?
I think it's instant sorcery.
It might be instant sorcery. Okay.
Oh, and he's Force Will. Oh, is that the
Flusterstorm deals with Force of Will.
Yeah.
And Force of Will on a Mystic Remora is really aggressive.
Yeah.
Because Mike doesn't really care about that Mystic Remora.
No, he's just
not at all. He's
time.
just playing it to get Bennett to not cast spells, so that he can wait until like turn 4 or 5.
Yep. Tamago, if that's not going to draw a card. And the upkeep.
And this is
just a 2/3 Goif, but
yeah, I mean, it's an interesting situation because Mike, can't find a third land.
Yep. And Bennett's probably not going to play anything to let him draw a card. There's a lot of beatdown. Yep, just lets it go. Remand to draw some cards.
Yeah, and he has access to.
Is he going to Merchant Scroll for a high tide here? Just hope to draw a land?
He's got a bunch of Merchant Scrolls in hand. I'm surprised he actually hasn't done that a bit sooner.
Yeah, maybe the Remora play wasn't exactly what he wanted to do.
Alright, now Bennett's Force slowly growing. The Brainstorm gets remanded.
Yep. Gets to dig Mike a card deeper. Ooh, the Daze.
Yeah, the Daze really powerful.
Now if Bennett wants to, you can put that land back. Looks like he's a little land light too, though. But that's what Rug Delver does. It operates on low land counts.
That's one of the reasons why the deck's so good. I mean, earlier on Twitter, a lot of people were talking about whether or not you should play a Taiga in the deck.
Oh.
I said I probably wouldn't because it greatly decreases the number of one-land hands you can keep.
I think the biggest discussion I've seen with it is whether or not you want to play like a basic land just to try and play around Wasteland, but I think it just thins out the deck too much.
So I have a question for you. When you're playing Rug Delver, if you're on the draw and you have one land, like one fetch land in hand, and a reasonable hand besides that, do you keep it?
Well, it depends. Do I have ponders or anything to dig with?
Well, my theory is that it doesn't matter that you keep it 100% of the time, unless your hand's like all Goifs or something.
Well, because I did keep one today on the play with a Brainstorm, and it didn't really work out because I had a Volcanic and I had a lot of green spells, and I just didn't get anything.
Yeah, well, I was saying specifically a fetch land.
Oh, specifically, yes. Yes, I think you would keep that no matter what.
Yeah. Alright, so Delver of Secrets flips to a Lightning Bolt.
Yep. Looking pretty good for Bennett here. 5 to Threshold, so just 2 more. Now you could always waste his Tropical to get Threshold if you need.
It looks like you wouldn't even need to do that.
No.
You can sacrifice the Scalding Tarn, Bolt Michael, put Michael at 8, and then attack for victory.
Yeah.
Or I guess Michael can High Tide Turnabout, right?
Yes, he could High Tide Turnabout. That's definitely an out there. I think that's about it, though.
High Tide Turnabout, not the best thing to do, though. A Cryptic Command where you need to discard a card instead of drawing one.
Of course, no, I don't think you could remand or counter the Bolt and still stay alive. Well, actually, remand might do it because then he still has a Wasteland.
Yeah, and if he remands the Bolt, then, I mean, it's kind of unlikely that he's going to be able to go off the next turn, so that just means his opponent's going to have a Bolt in hand. He's going to be at less than 3 life.
It's like Mike has the Turnabout. Does he have the High Tide?
Alright. Mike thinking a little bit about this Lightning Bolt. So let's crack that fetch land. Almost down to 10. This Lightning Bolt would be bringing him to 7 if it gets successfully cast. And let's see.
There's a High Tide.
It's a High Tide. And Turnabout. It's going to tap all Bennett Snyder's creatures. And
they go.
This is, do or die moment for Mike here.
No, he didn't draw land. That's definitely gonna make it rough.
Preordain? Looking for it. Leaves a Consecrated Sphinx on top of his deck. And an Intuition, or Merchant Scroll. And that's going to grab perhaps a High Tide. Merchant Scroll is kind of a cool card. One of the few good cards out of Homelands.
Oh, yes. I mean, and the other thing is that back in the day, a lot of the good Homeland cards nowadays just aren't good, like Autumn Willow with Power Creep.
Yeah.
Of course, Serrated Arrows is still always a classic good card.
Serrated Arrows is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I might even play that if it were legal now. Alright, so that was round 7 of 8. We just saw